Okay, let me get into it. I usually don't come into it with a whole bunch of introductions or whatever because I don't really care if you know who I am as much as you know or understand perhaps what I'm trying to say. So, anyway, today, man, what I want to rap about, we used to say that back in the day, rap. What I want to rap about is my transformation to see if you can catch the point that I want to make. So, as a lot of people know, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, East New York section of Brooklyn. And so that's New York City. And most people know, whether it's now or when I grew up back in the 60s and 70s in New York, people know about New York and its glitz and glamour. And so I grew up under that. However, I'm, of course, born in the 60s, 70s, black. So it wasn't like we could really uh, access the things that New York City had to offer. We were kind of on the outside looking in. And so, but you still had that mindset, right? As it came into our culture. You know, we saw sharp cats with hats and the suits and coats and, the shoes, cars, jewelry. So all of that suggested success, that the materialism. And so as we came up, I guess it probably started at 12, 13. You started developing you a little style based on what your experiences were. And it developed. I had some cats after as we were 17, to get the material, they became stick up kids. Some people shot dice on a regular basis, whatever they did, sold dope, whatever, to get the money to supposedly live that life. Most of the people at that time were not living any kind of life, no matter what they did, from getting a college degree. In our culture at that time, it just wasn't like that. But when you seen a person with the materialism, that suggested success. And that's, of course, what anyone's aspiration would be. And so that's what it was. So as you started getting older and maybe through a summer job and this or that, you started buying the clothes and you might have wanted your medallion, you had a little ring, and you these things were suggesting that you was something. You had a little something. And so that was the mindset coming up at that time in our culture. And so that's what I went into the military with when I left the neighborhood. And so the same thing, I didn't go too deep, but still kept up with the clothes and the jewelry, just a little something, something. So when I got out of the military, I came to Little Rock, Arkansas, and settled in. And after I finished college, after about the first 2 years, I started working in the insurance industry, and I met a contractor. It's like one of my first claims, and so over the next 2 years, I got to know the guy, and I started realizing that this dude, he was like you'd say, of course, an entrepreneur, small contracting business, where he used to do home improvement type work as a general contractor. He loved to get insurance claims because, of course, that's where you could hit a good lick. And that was how I initially met him, as I said. But anyway, I started realizing this dude right here, he got a little bit of grip, you know what I'm saying? Small contractor. And being in that line, he was also a landlord and owned about 20 homes. Some of them, I'm sure, he had finance, this and that. But anyway, he had a system to where he was getting paid. And I started noticing. And one day he even said in passing, not to brag or whatever, but he was saying that what he was kind of worth. He said, "Look, man, I'm worth well over $1 million on paper, but I'm not about showing what that's all about." And so that was just something he said it in passing. But I noticed that I never saw him with any kind of jewelry on, any kind of fancy type clothing. And he was the one responsible for me getting my first home. To even put that idea in my head, just from me coming from where I was coming from. I graduated the university. I got into corporate America, but I still never thought of myself in the terms of being someone who would be worthy and eligible even for a home. It just didn't cross my mind yet. I was still living in an apartment. It just didn't cross my mind about home ownership. He planted the seed. And I mean, within about a month or two after he planted the seed, 1991, I bought my first home. And this is the same home I live in to this day, for that matter. But so I started seeing that in him, that you couldn't really look at him and be able to tell if he had money. And I knew he was living pretty good. And as I went on, but especially, in that career, insurance, because I was meeting people across the spectrum, in terms of economics. And that is what I was noticing about some of the people in Little Rock or Arkansas versus the people that I had grew up with. The mentality especially. And it was that you could look at someone where I was from, and it was supposed to say if they had the gold, the clothes, and maybe even the car, that they had money. But here I was seeing these cats over here, most of them settled, in their lives. Couldn't tell if they had a nickel, 2 nickels to rub together. You couldn't tell from looking at them. Every time I used to look at my man who was a contractor, he used to just have on an old pair of jeans, pair, as they say, tennis shoes, some shirt. He's sitting on ability to be able to move, thousands, millions maybe. Here are these people that really have nothing, but yet they got gold, hat, boom, boom, boom. I'm going through a transformation. You see what I'm saying? To make the point that, man, who is worried about all of the glitz and glamour if you really don't have anything? Which is what, like, in a way, the foundation of the teachings of the 3 little pigs, for instance, right? When it's all said and done, when the wind comes, the wolf, man, the brick house was the one standing, because setting up of the foundation. But it was very interesting to see this over, the course of, how my life was going. And so it was amazing to me to see that the people who really did have some money, they didn't have no gold on. They didn't have these clothes and all that. They may have had a decent conservative car. But it wasn't this whole thing of, look at me, man, I'm the one who's got the money. As a matter of fact, it was like the exact opposite. I don't want no one to pay attention to me, to think I even have a red freaking cent. And I thought that was very interesting. And I thought, man, that's probably the way I would like to go, kind of. Just be out here just doing whatever. Nobody knows if you got something or you got nothing. But I just thought that was a real interesting concept. Along those same lines, and I don't advocate this any whatsoever. I'm just making a point here. There was the same kind of a guy, man. You look at him, every time you see him, overalls on. Sometimes he even, really had dirt all on him and shit. Tobacco stain on his overall. Pickup truck, all this metal shit like that. Might have a washing machine up there. All this shit that you're gonna take to the salvage yard. Underneath all that shit is the biggest fucking herb dealer you ever want to see. But so smart for longevity. When they look at me, I just look like some stupid motherfucking country boy. I got 3,000-4,000 in my pocket, 10 pounds of weed under all that bullshit ass junk, and ain't nobody, even if they stop me, they ain't suspecting me of shit. Right? He was really balling out of fucking control. But when you see me, man, I look like a stupid motherfucking country boy. Why? I'm trying to stay out here. The fuck I want to do? Get locked up out here? Oh man, I'm balling out of control. Look at my car. I'm riding on dubs. Who the fuck wants to do that? Huh? My man was like, shit. I'm trying to stay out here, do all this shit, take my kids to Disneyland, all that shit. I'm playing a motherfucking role. I'm not smart enough to go to no college and shit like that and be able to do. Man, I sell dope. Right? I ain't gonna motherfucking necessarily put this in the Arkansas goddamn me business journal or whatever. But shit, I'm trying to stay out here. So my front is, look at this shit here. You see a motherfucker, you don't think nothing. And that's the way you stayed out here. And so now, but anyway, I'm just saying that to say, when you forget about the perspective. I think if you do that, you really put more emphasis on what really is. Because it's a hell of a front when you look and you got to go to this, and you really do ask yourself, do I have security? Huh? So for me, I would much rather be the person who, face value, he looks like, just you don't pay attention to him. He ain't got no flashy nut, and he's very secure in his lifestyle. So that's what I learned, man, from going from being born and raised in Brooklyn as opposed to being developed in Arkansas. And so now I've been in Arkansas longer than I've lived in New York. So I got more now of a mindset of conservatism from being in Arkansas. And it made a difference in my life. Made a big difference. Because I was about, man, you about the flash, man, the glitz, the glamour, and you can still be about that, but you do it now in realistic terms, So I'm just making a point to because you spend a lot of money really on trying to look like you got money, as opposed to using that money to to start to build something. So, but I just thought that was an interesting thing in my life. In terms of that transformation, because there's still people that I know that grew up like we grew up. They kind of stayed in that mentality to where you see them and it's still about, man, oh yeah, you see the goal and the this and putting a lot of emphasis on that and still seeing that, look, man, that shit is a slippery slope. You know what I'm saying? The best thing to do is to grab on to something serious, hold on and start doing like that little pig and build a foundation on something. But so I just wanted to drop that. Anyway, I'll see you when I see you.